Hello all, welcome back to the channel. It's fantastic to see you again. And this week we have a breakdown on a great up and coming young fighter from Britain, Conor Benn. Now, you might know Conor Benn because of his dad, the Dark Destroyer, Nigel Benn, who was a British legend at middleweight. He had some great fights with Chris Eubank and Gerald McLennan and many others. And Conor's actually his son. And Conor's trying to make his own name in the fight game. In boxing, we sometimes have fantastic fighters and their sons try and follow in their footsteps. Some great examples of this is Julio Cesar Chavez and then Chavez Jr. and even Chris Eubank's son is doing it. He's doing well as well. And more recently we see Ricky Hatton's son, Campbell Hatton. He's doing it, but it's not going as well for him. So we see from that it's not as easy as having a famous father who was a great fighter. Now, let's get into the actual technique and the skills behind Conor Benn as a fighter. We're actually going to look at his last fight, which was against a fighter named Adrian Granados. Conor Benn is always categorised as an exciting fighter, looking to bang his man out, and if you watch his interviews, he's always talking in this way, but he also does a lot of defensive things very well. When he backs up with distance and with some form of control, some framing control, either on his man's shoulder or on his man's head. He also blocks the channels off sometimes. He doesn't actually make contact with the opponent. He just blocks the channels that the opponent's punches could come into. It's great work. Conor Benn also has fantastic and quick head movement. And again, this is all because of his eyes. In these clips, when we see him moving his head, his eyes are glued to his opponent and he knows exactly where his opponent is. More fantastic defensive work. Conor Benn also slip shots very well. And not only does he slip shots, he comes back with combinations and with speed and power. Very exciting to watch. Here we see Conor Benn moving his feet and he actually ends up with his back to the ropes. And Granados is there looking to get off offense. So what does Conor Benn do? He ties his man up, grabs hold of his arm so that he actually can't be punched, and then he turns and moves off the back of the ropes. So the referee's now going to split them and they're going to have to engage again. More great defensive work from Conor Benn. We've talked about Conor Benn moving his feet and controlling his opponent and moving his head, but he also catches and parries shots very well. And not only this, when he does parry and when he does catch the shot, he looks to counter immediately. And he looks to punch with his opponent, and this means that he can catch his opponent in between his opponent's punches when the opponent's hands aren't in great positions defensively. Fantastic work, fantastic defensive work from a quote-unquote attacking fighter. Now this really is a thing of beauty, the feints of Conor Benn. Let's just enjoy together the different ways that he does this with his body, with his level changes, with his hands. Beautiful deception. And this feeds me into my next point about how well Conor Benn changes the levels. He's constantly mixing up the attack between head and body. And then he's mixing in feints between head and body. And it's all very confusing if you have someone doing that to you in front of you in the ring. Where do you defend? Where do you go? You don't know where he's going. It's lovely work. Another thing Conor Benn does very well is he'll step in with feints towards his opponent as if he's really going to attack and look to engage. But then instead of engaging, he'll just stop and peel off and reset. Sometimes you can even see the opponent anticipating him coming in and he's just stepped off. Lovely. Lovely work. Again, it's all keeping the opponent guessing at all times. Now we're going to look at a few points in some finer detail. I want to go a little bit further than just what you see on the screen with some of these points. So what I want you to notice here is that it's all about when Conor Benn attacks. It's very easy to watch his style and say, oh, he's very quick, and he is quick, don't get me wrong, but it's more about when. And what is Granados doing when he attacks? Well, in these clips we see Granados resetting. He'll be circling the ring, or he'll be bouncing to try and make himself feel comfortable. And that's something we all do as fighters. We try and make ourselves comfortable, get into a little rhythm. And Conor Benn chooses to attack when Granados is in them positions trying to settle. And because he's trying to settle, he's not ready for Conor Benn coming at him. Again, it's not about what the attack is, it's when and why. When Granados is resetting, and why? Because Granados is resetting. He's not in a position to actually effectively defend the attack. Another subtlety to the way Conor Benn attacks his opponent is he sets a rhythm. Now what I mean by this is that his body is moving at a certain pace, a certain tempo, and then he very quickly changes it and attacks. Now, he's set an initial rhythm, and then he's broken that rhythm himself with the attack, and that's when he's on Granados. Now, remember what I said earlier about sometimes he'd come in with feints and then step off with distance? This mixes in very well with this style of breaking the rhythm because, again, Granados doesn't know if he's going to just step off, and he might even think, oh, he's coming in, but then Conor Benn actually increases the speed of what he's doing, breaks the rhythm, and then it's too much for Granados to compute defensively, and before he knows it, he's being overwhelmed with flashy and eye-catching combinations. It's a great way to score, and it's a great way to get through to his man. And even at the end of these sorts of phases of the fight, Conor Benn will then step off and dig in more shots to body and head. And again, it's just very difficult to deal with. Granados goes from seeing Conor Benn come in, being overwhelmed by the speed of what's just happened, and then he might step off and not even be there anymore to be countered, and he's still being hit. Again, it's all very, very confusing. It's very difficult to get a read on this man and try and understand. It's very unpredictable in the way that he's attacking Granados. Now, we've touched on a lot of things there, but the main takeaway from this fight for me is deception. Conor Benn is constantly keeping Granados thinking and computing, and it's constantly something new. It's something to take his attention off what he was doing before, and this deception is what makes Conor Benn able to go in and land his punches and outscore Granados. So it's very clear here that Conor Benn is becoming a fighter within his own right. He's stepping out of the shadow of his old man, Nigel Benn, the great British legend. And Nigel Benn even says that Conor Benn's got more skills than him. And I think that's testament to what Conor Benn is doing in the gym and the amount of hard work he's putting in. The classic problem that rich people face, or people that become very successful and very wealthy in life, is that how do they pass on the life lessons that they had which drove them to their success? How do they pass that on to their children when their children are never going to face the insecurity and the hard circumstances that they faced? Can you really authentically pass that lesson on without taking away the safety net that these people have and the sense of security? Something's happened here with Conor and Nigel Benn though, where Nigel Benn has managed to instill the work ethic and the desire to become the best. That's what Conor Benn has. He has the desire. That's what's got him in the gym, working on these skills. And it's not just he's been matched well, because at the level he's at, it doesn't matter how well you're matched. You're fighting against other very skillful fighters as well. And hopefully what we've shown here with this video is that Conor Benn is working at a very high technical level. It's very interesting to watch, and I just can't wait to see if he can go all the way and become a true great. You know, I think for what he's done already, he's well up there with the best fighters in the world, and probably the best in Britain at his weight. I mean, some would argue that Josh Kelly and David Avanesian, and I mean, I know David Avanesian isn't British, but he lives and trains in Britain. But I want to see if Conor Benn can go on and become truly great. And that's what's interesting with this, the fact that he's managed to come from the silver spoon background, and he's still working as if he hasn't got a dollar, hasn't got a pound in his pocket. Wonderful to see. If you enjoyed the video, guys, drop us a like and a comment. I want you to tell me if you think Conor Benn has got what it takes to go to the top. Subscribe to the channel if you like what we're doing, It really does help us, honestly, it does. And have a great day, guys.